From untruth, lead us to truth. From darkness, lead us to light. From fear of death, lead us to joy of immortality. With this prayer, I, Rituja, on behalf of Vivekananda Study Circle, welcome you all to the 2-day workshop on exercising enlightened leadership by Dr. Balasubramaniam, fondly known as Balu Sir. I request Balu Sir, Swami Mahavedananji and Professor Murlidhar to offer a floral tribute to Swami Vivekananda. Now I shall take the privilege in introducing our honorable instructor for the workshop, Balu Sir. Dr. Balasubramaniam is a widely respected development activist, leadership trainer, thinker, and writer. He has uniquely been able to combine a vast development sector experience with studying and teaching at the world's leading school of policy, including Harvard and Cornell universities. He has also been a special investigator for Lokayukta Karnataka in addition to holding membership and consulting positions in government bodies and commissions, academic boards, and development agencies. He is also the founder of Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement, one of India's leading development organizations, and the founder and chairman of Grassroots Research and Advocacy Movement, and embodies a rare blend of grassroots and macro perspectives on development and policy through his multifaceted experience of more than 3 decades. Now I request Swami Mahavedananji to present fruit basket as a token of our welcome to Balu Sir. Now request Balu Sir to start the workshop.
The 2 days that we are going to share is essentially based on the course I teach. I teach a full leadership course at IIT Delhi and also at Cornell and occasionally at Harvard or the Harvard Kennedy School. So this is a combination of several things. So I don't have time for the 2 days. I know as young students you will all want citations, references if you are still interested. Yesterday I think Ankit, Anshuman, somebody asked me, is there any readings, right? I don't know who asked me. What's the other? Ankush, right? Ankush is here? Yeah. You asked me about the readings. I know for sure that because I teach and I know that you give readings, it only pleases you that you have written the readings on the syllabus. No student reads and comes. Am I right? Hardly you people. Okay. Some students read and come. Some students pretend to read and some students will pretend as though they have read and make 1 or 2 statements in class to show that they are indicating that they have read something. Now I think professors also are intelligent. After so many years of teaching, you know when somebody is just trying to show that he's read something and somebody actually read something. So I don't believe in readings nowadays. I just think that if you haven't grasped what I'm saying in class, you don't deserve to know anything. So we just go on, okay. And a lot of what I'm going to teach is based on a lot of scriptural wisdom of India. So without romanticizing it, it's based on a lot of Upanishadic theory, thoughts and the Gita, and a lot of it's from Vivekananda's writings. That being said, nothing I say cannot be validated by scientific research. So everything I say, I can give you. Unfortunately, the Western world has researched more than anything than what we do in our country. So most of the research I quote would be from the US. Because they have done the most of the work on leadership. So whether it is Harvard, because I was trained there and I can access more of information there. Cornell, where I do my own research, and San Diego, where a lot of neurobiological research is happening, and University of Chicago. These are major places where I bring a lot of my material. I'll generally mention whose research it is. So nothing is, if something is original, I'll let you know, but otherwise it's mostly a combination and synthesis of everything. So this course or 2 days of seminar will combine leadership sciences, decision making sciences, neuroeconomics. Have anybody done, do you have a major, is there a course in neuroeconomics here? IIT, okay. A lot of neurobiology, the latest in neurosciences is what I bring to this room. So, I will explain to you in very simple terms. I know there is a biology student, so she is going to draw us the figure of the brain when I want. So, you better prepare. And we will understand how the brain operates. So, a lot of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras repackaged as neuroscience is what I will offer to you during the sessions. A combination of history and all that together. This is some of it is actually the latest. It's still under experimental stage in the world of research in leadership sciences in the US right now. I strongly believe India's had a enormous depth in leadership wisdom, but we never really packaged it, we never really spoke about it, we never presented it to the world. And so, we have come to a point where we believe leadership has to come from Harvard MBAs, and we do not really look at ourselves and look at what we are capable of. So, it is all combination of all this. So, that is why it is all part of my book, which will possibly come out next year, called Exercising Enlightened Leadership. So, this is going to be the structure is going to be, I will possibly talk a lot, maybe cover as much theory as possible, because the 2-day thing, it is very difficult. So, it is not truly a workshop, because if it's a workshop, I need at least 4 days for you to work on it. So, I will try to cover as much fundamentals today and all the basics without which you can't understand what I am going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will try to deconstruct 2 cases. One will take a very simple case of a heart attack and how do you deal with it, how do you exercise leadership. If somebody has a heart attack here, only 2 contenders are me and Murli, so age wise. So, everybody else is looks like we are too young, but do not be too sure. I have seen heart attacks at 26 and 24. So, you can all not be too rest assured that you are not going to have a heart attack for the next 20-30 years. And we will also look at corruption, a topic which I worked a lot on. So, we look at how could you handle the Lokpal Act and the Anna Hazare movement and all that. So, some of you have read my book, I the Citizen. There is a chapter on how we formed the whole thing and how the team Anna started and all that. So, we are we'll try to deconstruct the case and understand leadership from a practical breaking down of the case. Normally, in the course I teach, we do not have pre-digested cases. We actually do what is called case in point. You become the case in point. So, your life becomes the case, and we look at your leadership challenges and your success and failures and analyze it in class. So, those classes are extremely demanding, very emotionally charged up. Students fight, students cry, all that. So, I do not expect all that to happen in 2 days. So, do not worry. The reason I want you to look at each other is to start learning to talk to each other. So, this course is not about talking to me. So, you might not agree with some of the things I say, you can talk to me, but then each of you are expected to share your wisdom, your comments, and others may not like it, may not agree to it. So, you are expected to challenge it, you are expected to respond to provocation. For that, you have to listen, you have to listen to what the other person says. So, we will understand listening as we go along today and understand why we do not do that, why we do not listen to others, and why we simply jump in with our thoughts without even paying attention to the other thoughts in the room. So, this is going to be as experimental as possible, something like a laboratory, and we will have fun. Okay? Since I can't teach courses, this model of seminars I started off at, in India I used to teach this course IIM Bangalore, and I only now teach at IIT Delhi. But IIT Mumbai, I tried a 2-day seminar like this, and it seemed to work, the students liked it. And that is why I got a little confidence, and I am hoping that by tomorrow evening you will possibly benefit. Okay? Any questions? So, the next rule, we stick to time. If it is 9, it is 9. If it is a break between 1 and 2, it is 1 and 2. 2 is 2, 2 cannot be 1:59, it will not be 2:01. So, let us all try for that. Okay? That is part of leadership too. Training ourselves to engage in a disciplined activity is also part of leadership. So, we will try all that, we will see how it goes. And if you are sitting in this room today, you have to sit in this room till tomorrow evening. If you are not sure of that, if you are unsure of whether you will have to be called out, you will have to go meet somebody, please drop off right now. Fair demands, right? If you are in for the whole journey. You are not in only for a trial or a sample, or like you guys might audit a course and see for a couple of classes and say this guy is not good enough. I know I am good, but I do not want a certificate from you that I am good. So, if you are willing, stay the 2 days or leave right now. That means all of you are going to stay. Okay. So, okay. Now to your part. Any questions about the structure, the model, the content, what to expect? Now, your thoughts on why did you come to this room? Why are you even here on a weekend? So, we are here for different reasons. One of the definitions of leadership is fascinating. Leadership is about disappointing people to the extent to which they can absorb it. If you disappoint them too much, they'll throw you out of the room. So if you disappoint them too less, they won't learn anything. So I'm going to disappoint you tomorrow. Hopefully not so much that you won't invite me again to IIT, but enough so that you learn leadership. So from all your requests, many of it might happen, some of it might not happen. So let's just ask, why should we even learn leadership? Why isn't it a full course in IIT? Why is it now in IIT Delhi a full course? Why learn? Why bother? Why? You're all going to be engineers, possibly the best in the country, or technologists or techno-scientists or whatever we can call yourselves. And you come from one of the most, one of well-known or the leading IITs. Why learn leadership? Why bother? Why learn it as a special science or as maybe an art? Why bother about learning all this? Why not just go deeper into engineering and medicine and all the technology that the world needs? Now let's look at what leadership is and why do we need it. Now, the world as we understand it today, we are given ourselves a world which is fascinatingly full of crisis, like what Ankush said. And if you bucket all the problems we face, and if you can keep making a list, it's a never-ending list. Yeah, you are wanting to ask a question, or show him the way. If you can bucket all the problems, we can put it in 3 boxes. The first major box is we have given ourselves this fascinating ecological crisis. The more and more we think we are technologically advancing, the more and more we think we are progressing, the more and more we are destroying and pillaging this earth. To a point where right now, if you measure, we are consuming 1.5 times the resources the earth can afford to provide us. So we are pretty much soon going to exhaust everything, and we are 7 billion people. It's a huge crisis. The second crisis that we also managed to create is what we call a societal crisis, a crisis of inequities. Right? If you look at India, 1% of India generates and produces close to 72% of India's wealth. The remaining 99% of Indians are somewhere here. 40 Indian families control 40% of India's GDP. So inequities are expanding more and more and more and more. The geographical inequities are plenty. The digital inequities are growing. Every possible way, not just financial, social inequities are growing. Class is becoming more defined. Caste is becoming more defined actually. So we are all managing to kill each other and destroy each other, whether it's Iraq, Syria, North Korea, South Korea, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all the problems that we have inherited. We are managing to mess up pretty good. We are experts at it now. The third crisis, a less worrisome crisis, these two are less worrisome to me. The third crisis is connected to these two, and I think that is where leadership is a fascinating tool we can all consider. The third crisis is the crisis of the self. We are living in a world where we are so connected, but we are so disconnected from ourselves. Many of you may not even understand this, but every year today, as of last year, 1 million people are committing suicide. Every year. And most of them, if you ask them why, or when they have the evidence, when they could counsel and find out, in some people who didn't commit suicide, it is because there's a sense of purpose is lost, they're completely disconnected from themselves, they don't know what's happening, and they feel so depressed, they think ending their lives is the only way. So we have 3 major crises, and all of us want to solve them. You ask any young man your age, you say, I want to change the world, I want to make it a better place. And you want to address the environmental crisis, you want to address possibly the societal crisis, socio-economic inequity crisis, or the self. So you can find any job in this world, it will fit into these 3 buckets. But most importantly, I would like to give a very practical starting point. Why should you learn leadership? There's a fascinating report called Mega Trends, gets published once in a while by a global consulting agency. I don't believe in them, but I believe in this report. They keep estimating what is it that you need. Their report is very simple. 5 years down the line, they try to assess what kind of jobs are going to be available. and at your age it's something important for you to think about. We were just talking, Professor Murli was telling me about how normally 60% of students are the ones who go into the core subjects you specialize, 40% at least now, and earlier it was much worse, into other things. So we are all preparing all of you for jobs that are not going to exist 5 years from today. And you're all thinking you're in the best IIT in the country. You're all studying courses, you're all studying subjects for which jobs may not even exist as we know them today. This Megatrends report says 70% of jobs in institutions as we know them, I'm not saying jobs itself will disappear, will become irrelevant or will have disappeared 5 years from today. That the report was 4 years ago, so which is 1 or 2 years from now, it will not be there. And they say, if you want to possibly do well in life, in a very commercial way I'm talking, I'm not even talking from a deeper philosophical meaningful way, in a very commercial return on investment way. You invest on an IIT, you've all invested your childhood to come here, you lost all the beauty of growing up, going to those Chaitanyas and Narayanas and Kotas, and then you get into IITs and then you lose your way, and then at least you must start making money out of it, no? For having lost your way. Your parents have invested lakhs on sending you here, and so you got to get the return on investment. So the return on investment are going to be in jobs which have the following skills, is what they say. And I tend to believe that because trends are showing that way. That's why it's called mega trends. The first is, if you are not competent, if you don't have the skills or the competence in the space of digital technology. So it's not about social media and Facebook and WhatsApp alone, it's how well you know how to survive in that space. How do you deal with it, how do you negotiate it, and how do you use it for your own, and it's an astounding world out there. We have not even scratched the surface. The second is in data management and machine learning, and how do you understand data. It's getting thrown at us from so many ways, so many places, we don't even know what we're sitting on. And pretty much everybody, everything about everybody is known to somebody at least now. At least some machine knows all about you. And so we're all exposed completely. The third is, if you don't have the skills or the knowledge to be disruptively innovative, you can't survive. Because we don't know what the future is holding for us. But we don't teach, we teach machine learning, we teach digital technology in our technical institutions. But how do you be disruptively innovative? We don't teach. And that is considered to be one of the most important. And the last and the most important, they say, you might not have any of these, but if you have the leadership to know how to manage people with these three, then you'll be a great success. So simplistically, he could be disruptively innovative, she could have technological mastery over the digital space, and he could be very, very insightful about managing data and using machines to learn from data. I don't have to know all these three. I just have to know how to manage these three idiots, and they'll work for me for life. So leadership, and they say leadership to negotiate these skills, use it for making the world a better place and bringing it up. So from a purely, I brought this example because from a purely IIT point of view, the first two you would be anyway learning. You don't need to be taught. You have courses which will be offered on campus. The third, I don't know if innovation is offered as a science, as a way of thinking. It might be offered as health innovation for specific areas and stuff like that. Fourth is leadership, and that's why I think leadership is important to learn. Yeah.
But sir, given that condition, how do you differentiate between leadership and managerialism then?
Yeah, so we'll come to that. So you have to spend the 2 days here. So we'll understand that. What is the difference, and is it just managing these three, or how can we really manage them? And how do we lead for something worthwhile? Is it possible to lead? That we'll understand now, and once you understand the definition of leadership. So what does leadership mean to you? The word obviously means something. So what does it mean to you?
Taking responsibility.
Great, taking responsibility. Yeah. Beyond self. Wow.
Ability to empower others to unite for a cause.
Great, ability to empower others to unite for a cause. So Hitler empowered a country to unite to kill all the Jews. So he's still a leader for you, okay? You know your definition. He's a leader. Yeah, so we'll go with that also.
Take everyone along for a more constructive purpose.
No, he was very intelligent, right? He very intelligently added Constructive purpose, great. Take everyone along, wonderful. It's actually a good way of looking at it. Any other thoughts?
Be ready to do anything for a purpose.
Be ready to do anything for a purpose. I believe killing him is great. So I'll do anything to kill him. No, you are all. And what is constructive? I think killing him is constructive. He's going to discover the new kind of a bomb which can destroy human life completely. And so if you kill him before he discovers it, it's very constructive. So who decides what is constructive and what is constructive? Because we use this word, right? There's implicit meaning in that word. But who defines constructive?
What sustains humanity?
What sustains humanity? Why should humanity sustain? We are destroying this world. We are removing all the other species in life. Maybe God will be happy if we kill ourselves. The rest of humanity, rest of God's creation will progress.
So constructive is Atmana Mokshatam Jagat.
This is the VSE definition. Okay. So difficult to define. Just imagine what is constructive, what is positive. We use these words very lightly. So the next 2 days, all the words we use, because leadership is about specificity. Leadership is about actually thinking through and understanding what those words mean. Behind the semantics, why do we say what we say? Why are we using these words? Everything matters because it all comes from the brain. And so we're going to understand the brain a little deeper. So leadership as a definition is so complex. You know, the United States alone, every year, 25,000 books are published annually on the subject of leadership. And next year, my book is going to be one more. Go into the meaning of the word lead and where does it come from? The etymology of the word lead. That word has to come from somewhere, right?
It comes from crusaders.
It comes from crusaders, okay. Any other ideas? Is there a darker pen? Where does it come from? This word was first used in 1400 AD. Doesn't mean that leadership was not existent before that. It was there. First used in the European context. I think we need something darker. Thank you. Is there a cap or something? The word, it comes from the word layat. Is it me or is it the pen? So it was used first in 1400 AD. How was Europe in 1400 AD? Layat actually means a front runner. Somebody who's running in the front. Because not everybody had horses in those villages. So he would be running in the front and saying they're hiding there, they kept their weapons there. It just means he's a front runner. It also has got one more meaning, and that's what we are interested in. Layat also means, you know what one of you should do? Go. Oh, good. So I thought I was about to say that if something is open today, just go get 2-3 pens. To go forth, it means to go forth. But it doesn't just stop there. It also means to go forth and die. Because who is the person who gets killed the first? If he's coming in the front, you can also logically believe that he was a spy. So if you kill him, the only knowledge that is embedded in his mind is lost. And so who do you kill first? Mayank. So Mayank, people like Mayank, the Layats, it also meant to go forth and die. So embedded in the word lead is death. So how many of you are willing to lead? Only 2? 3, 4? You are going to die. Because it's not just a joke. If you go deeper into the word, look at it, whether it's Bhagwan Krishna or Jesus Christ or Gandhi or Abraham Lincoln or John F. Kennedy, in the work that they did, somehow they invited death. So embedded in the ability to lead is also the risk of dying. And dying doesn't have to be just physical. You can be killed figuratively, you can be marginalized, you can be assassinated not just physically, in so many different ways, your character. So you're exposing yourself to the risk of being Goliath or going forth and dying. So again think, do you still want to lead? I used to call my course earlier days, Staying Alive. I would tell, I want to teach my students, what's the point if you're dead, right? If you're trying to lead and you're dead, what's the use of anybody, for anybody? So we should teach you how to stay alive.
No, but sir, death is inevitable.
He is continuously in the VAC mindset. That is inevitable, so go commit suicide today.
No, but then use it for some constructive purpose. You know?
Your dying might be constructive actually.
No, but and
Suicide might not.
He has a point.
Right? We never think, we are so self-obsessed that we think we are very important to society, to our families, to the world. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're only self-important. So maybe your dying would be actually good. Have you thought about it? Not really, right?
So if the cause demands us by leading we die, then we should be letting go.
So and what is that cause?
So it might be like, suppose...
Now I put him in confusion, so tell him, not me. So tell him, his life may be worth living.
Sir, suppose there is a war tomorrow with Pakistan.
Yeah.
So suppose my country needs me to go and fight a war. And then I will go and fight a war with them. Even if I am not so much trained and skilled as Jawans are, but if the country needs me, I will go and do it. So if there I die, it's like dying for a cause.
A cause that you think is right, but few minutes ago he said constructive. So you believe it's constructive for you. I believe it's not constructive for me.
So sir, it varies from person to person.
So leadership is relational.
Yeah.
Okay, let's explore it. Let's explore why he needs to live and not die. Right? That's what we're talking about. That's what leadership is all about. By end of tomorrow, if he understands he has to live, maybe our workshop is useful. So leadership, how do you define it then? So the definition, so what we're going to talk for the next 2 days, there is no concept called a leader. And that is why he has to live. It's not about leading and being out there and the followers coming behind you. It is never about that. It's not about you at all. There's nothing called a noun form of a leader, and that's what this course is going to be about. So you might not agree with me, let's discuss it and argue about it. I believe we can only exercise leadership. You can never be a leader. So it's not precondition that if you're in a position of authority, you also exercise leadership. And it's also not a precondition that if you want to exercise leadership, you should be in a position of authority.
Fair enough.
And two prominent names that you can think of in Indian history who actually exercised great leadership and a lot to learn from them, but never really held positions of authority, though one held it for some brief period of time. Yeah, Gandhi held it for some 6 months or something, he was president of the Indian National Congress. Jayaprakash Narayan, wonderful again. Netaji was formerly the head of the INA. Vivekananda exercised great leadership. And he exercised extraordinary leadership, one of the few people I know who exercised leadership without having any formal authority. And recently we had Anna Hazare do it in the anti-corruption movement. Great leadership for some time, and then it fizzled off. But no authority, and so he didn't know how to manage it. Nelson Mandela, when he was in jail, exercised great leadership. When he came out and became president and took on a position of authority, he floundered. Barack Obama in his campaign exercised great leadership in the first elections. And once he became president, he lost his way of leadership. He was great in authority position, but he was neither authoritarian nor exercising leadership. So how do I define leadership? To me, leadership, is an activity. So to me, it's all action. It's an activity of doing something. And like, I forget your name. Ashish said, doing something, doing what? We need to understand. It's an activity of mobilizing a group and their resources for doing something societally constructive. And constructive, again, something we have to discuss. What is constructive? Because there's a tacit understanding of constructive. We'll go a little deeper. Amidst enormous uncertainty. Now, if I'm here today, I can be a lecturer or a professor teaching. Now, in this room right now, who do you think is in a position of authority? Me. So I decide when I'll give the break. I decide whether you will have lunch at 12 or 1. I will decide whether a cell phone can ring or not. I will decide where you will sit and ask you to go there. Wow, I have a lot of authority. And who gave me this authority? Excellent, right? You gave me the authority. So authority is never given by anybody except those who authorize. So you have authorized me with authority. And suppose you decide to allow your cell phones to ring, to walk out when you want, to go and come when you want. He's afraid already to give the cell phones. What can you do about it? Can I do something? What if you decide not to give me authority? I can't do anything, right? So authority is given. We authorize a prime minister to rule this country. Why? We authorize a chief minister to rule this state. We authorize your director to run this institution. Why do we authorize? Why are we even authorizing it? Why are you authorizing me for the next 2 days and subjugate your intelligence to my demands? Why? To manage, excellent, and then to create order, wonderful.
So that a work can be done.
Work can be done.
Because we have shown faith in him.
Excellent, that's the answer I was looking for. All the other things are responsibilities of authority to maintain order, to deliver on the work. But why you are authorizing me is because you have faith in me. And other word that we use in the leadership circumstances, trust. So you are trusting me. Trusting me for what? What are you trusting me with?
To take up our interests.
To take up your interest, go deeper. Why are you even trusting me? What makes you trust me for what?
Ability to align our minds for a cause.
Ability to align your minds to the cause of, go deeper. You're right, to the cause of learning leadership. And why do you think I am the right person? How can you trust me? I may be giving you gibberish and thrash for 2 days and you may go thinking you have learned a lot of things and it will be thrash you're learning. Why do you trust me to give you stuff which is worthy enough of your trust for 2 days? Credentials is one, background is one, credibility is one, experience is one. Swamiji says I must be good and asked to be invited. You think, oh, you trust Swamiji. So you extend the trust. That's how it real life works, right? So somewhere you're authorizing me because you trust me and you trust me because you want something in return. So you're not giving your trust free of cost to me. It's a transaction. Authorities thrive on transaction. You trust me to deliver on the transaction. You give me your trust, your payment is trust, and my payment in return is, my service in return is knowledge of leadership. So we are transactional. You don't simply trust me for nothing. You trust me because you want something out of me. So deep down, we don't do all this analysis. We don't think, we just act. It's very simple. You're trusting me because you think you'll get something out of me. Now, leadership is not just this. It's something deeper and much more deeper. You just don't. So authority means you're authorizing me to deliver on a transaction for which you're paying with your trust. So if you trust your director to maintain order, to run this institution, to create an atmosphere where you can learn for 4 years, then you're authorizing him to do it. And you trust that he will deliver on it. If you have a CEO in a company tomorrow, you trust your CEO to deliver on the responsibilities endowed with him, to keep order in the organization, to make profits, to keep everybody happy, to distribute the profits, all that. Right? You trust him. Otherwise, you will subject yourself to a CEO. You will say, hell with you and walk off. Right? So leadership will go a little deeper now and understand it a little deeper. So leadership is about mobilizing a group and their resources for something societally constructive amidst enormous uncertainty. So in that definition of leadership, what am I doing today? I can be an authority figure and simply talk and teach and go. And I can tell you, deliver. After all, I'm trained at Harvard. I must be good. I go over the world. So you can definitely trust me. I can promise you I'll deliver the latest. But that is just using my authority to give you information on leadership. If I have to exercise leadership in the next 2 days and use this definition on myself, to me, leadership in this situation is going to be, how do I mobilize every one of you in this room and the resources that you have, your knowledge, your experiences of whatever years it is. You've all been alive for what, 18, 20, 25, 30, whatever years. And I'm using that knowledge, your backgrounds, the way you grew up, different things that we have, different resources. There are gender resources, there are women in this room, there are men in this room, there are people older, there are younger, there are different branches of engineering, there are sciences. Can I mobilize this group and the resources in this room for the societally constructive action of we learning leadership? And can I give a guarantee by tomorrow evening that you'll all learn leadership? Can I? Can you guarantee me you will learn leadership? I don't think so. You can't guarantee me. You can only say, you can guarantee trying, but can you guarantee me? I can't guarantee teaching you leadership or sharing leadership knowledge with you, as much as you can't guarantee the learning. So to me, and then why do I inspire? How can I inspire? I can tell you I'm extremely busy. These 2 days was extremely difficult for me to take out of my time and come here. And I have a very important, extremely critical meeting of national importance on 13th in Delhi. I have to prepare for it. I don't have the time, I know. But I'm investing these 2 days here. And if I don't think you're going to learn leadership by tomorrow evening, how can I inspire myself? Tell me? Is it fair demand on me? There's no way I know that you can learn leadership. How do I even inspire myself? Why do I come here? Thankfully, there's a flight from Mysore now. So it only took me 1 hour to come here. But otherwise, what would drive me to be here? What would inspire me if I'm not sure you will learn leadership in the end of 2 days?
So maybe you're not
Initiate the learning. Initiate the learning.
No. Despite that, if I'm here, that is the exercise of leadership. There is no way anybody can guarantee ourselves that what we do will actually happen, that constructive action will happen. But in spite of that, inspiring yourself and saying, I will go ahead and do it, is what is leadership. Otherwise, there's no difference between exercising leadership and just being ordinary. So leadership to me in this construct, in this context, is mobilizing all of you in this room for the collective action of learning leadership and clearly inspiring myself with the fact that I may not know whether you learn by tomorrow evening or not. Despite that, can I inspire myself? So everything you do, if you define it, it's about mobilizing a community or a group and their resources for doing something societally constructive amid enormous uncertainty.